What's up, Michigan State fans? It's Jacob Katzek here, back for another episode of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. This is our podcast for Sunday, January 18th, 2026, recording this on Saturday night following the Michigan State Spartans 80-63 victory over the Washington Huskies. Another win for this basketball team, a team that, again, is once again surpassing preseason expectations. I thought a lot of people thought this was a fringe top 25 team going into the season. They were ranked 22nd in the preseason AP poll. I would have had them a little bit higher than that, but probably not too much higher if it was up to me. And here we are. 18 games into the season, the Spartans are 16-2 overall, 6-1 during Big Ten play, and they're going to be in the conversation and in contention for a Big Ten championship. Once again, will they win it? Don't know. We got a long ways to go before that is decided. 13 games to be exact, but I think you have to be very, very pleased with how the start of the season has gone. Both losses have been to very, very good teams. You just lost to Duke by a couple possessions, and you lost by 2 points at Nebraska, who's still undefeated. What are they? They're 18-0. They won again on Saturday. So, just not from a season-wide perspective, I think you'd be very pleased with how things are going right now. The schedule up until the Michigan game is pretty light, pretty supposedly. They play Oregon next on Tuesday. Oregon is really struggling this season, 8-10 overall, 1-6 in Big Ten play, a game they should win. We'll cover that one in the coming days. That game's on Tuesday again. You host Maryland, who's not good, and then you go play Rutgers, who's even worse than Maryland. After that, again, Maryland 0-6 as I speak during Big Ten play, and Rutgers is 2-5 with those two wins being against Northwestern and Oregon at home. So two teams not exactly on Michigan State's level. So, yeah, scheduled next three games are certainly three games I think Michigan State should win. You are very well looking at potentially 19-2 and 9-1 heading into that Michigan game. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, this was a quad one game, guys. Washington's not the strongest opponent of all time, but they were a capable opponent. This is something that kind of Izzo was harping on before the game, and really you look at Washington's roster, it's a decently constructed roster from a talent point perspective. They've got good players. They've got, again, their star player, Hans Steinbach. He's going to be a first-round NBA draft pick probably, in the coming months. Like, he's a really good player. You saw it today. Like, he played well, 17-9, but that's actually kind of technically a slightly quiet game for him. He averages about 17 and 11 or 12. Again, really good player. Played 38 minutes today, and that's a lot for a big, standing at 6'11". They've got others. Zoom Diallo's a good player. He had a nice game today. Wesley Yates was scoring a good bit at USC last season. They lost Desmond Claude just before this game. He's been apparently playing through a lot of injury and his pain in his ankle, and he couldn't bear it anymore. But Quamari Peterson, great three-point shooter. They got Bryson Tucker. He was a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school. Michigan State recruited him pretty hard. He ended up choosing Indiana, transferred to Washington this past season. Like there's legitimate talent on this roster, but it's a new roster. They have like 14 new players than last year, so they're trying to put the pieces together. But again, there's only so many games in a college basketball season. I think like the Izzo method nowadays, where you kind of try to build up through high school, have that continuity that way, and then you just kind of plug through the portal. That might be the way. I'm a little biased in that regard. Whatever Izzo thinks is going to win basketball games, it's probably a pretty good idea, but it seems to make sense to me. I don't think you can win a ton in a sport where there's so much team involved, like basketball. It's such a team-centric sport. That's part of the reason why I like it personally. It's such a team sport. You have to communicate offensively and defensively. It's never just really one guy, especially in college. It's maybe a little not so much in the NBA, but at the college level, very much a team sport. And I think you need to have that continuity of having guys who are in the program for several years, getting to know each other to succeed. And I think you saw that in this game today. Because again, Washington could hang with Michigan State. They're good enough to hang with several good teams. They hung with Michigan for a while. They hung at Purdue, only lost by 8 there. Like none of their losses are blowouts necessarily. I mean, their biggest losses to Colorado, I think, until today. Actually, this is their most lopsided loss of the season. Until today, it was by 13. Like these are relatively close losses against decent opponents. Like they went to Mackey and only lost by 8. You know, like they had to. Okay, it was kind of a late comeback there. Now I'm looking at it, but still, only losing by 8 in Mackey. Like there's a lot of teams that do worse than that. But yeah, but still, as far as this game goes specifically, props to Jeremy Fears. That's kind of my MVP for today. More specifically for just what he did during that second half. Earlier part of the second half was controlled by Washington. MSU was kind of sloppy. Cam Ward commits that flagrant foul, not really a flagrant foul, but a flagrant foul by the letter of the law. He intentionally fouled a Washington player as they were trying to get out in transition. It's not a basketball play. They rightly gave it an F1 tag. Then Washington made one of the 2 free throws, and MSU got the stop there, so they only got 1 point out of it, but it was still a 5-point game at that point. Momentum was on Washington's side, and that was kind of the part of the game where you're probably the most nervous. Jeremy Fears took over at that moment, showed why he's the leader of this team. Immediately after that moment, after they get that stop, after the F1, 12-2 Michigan State run, Jeremy Fears scored 10 of those points. The other 2 was it was like I think it was like that weird play where Cooper technically dunked it, but he didn't. It just kind of deflected in off an alley-oop. Fears had the assist on that play. I mean, this is why Fears, I think, could be a guy where we're talking in a generation or so from now, he could have his number in the rafters at the Breslin Center. He is the leader of this team. Again, it's still crazy to think he has 2 years of collegiate eligibility after this season. Like he can be, if he keeps developing and going up and up on an upward path, sky is truly the limit for this kid. And it's, I mean, I'm trying to find the right words for it here, but his evolution as a scorer here, as well as a guy who can go get a bucket when Michigan State needs one, is so important, so important. Because that was the main concern I had for this team going to this season. Like, who's going to score the points here? You don't have Jace Richardson who can create his own shot. You don't have a Jaden Akins who can also kind of create his own shot. Trey Hallman, I think, would still fit really well on this team. Of course, he's gone. He's at NC State. There's not really a player on this team where I truly felt confident, like, yeah, this guy, when things are getting tough, he can really get you that bucket. Fears wasn't the most dynamic player offensively last year, has had a shooting slump at one point this year. Really still is from the three-point line, but inside it, he's really starting to find his range on the mid-range game. He's starting to hit those layups. Like, this is his sixth. He's averaging now 13.1 points per game. He was at about 7.5-ish, give or take a few tenths there, but like you get my point. It's a really big jump from last season in the scoring department. But he's also really hot lately. This is now his 6th consecutive game where he scored above his season average. Like he's on a hot streak as a scorer right now. I think inside the arc, he's shooting it above 60% from 2-point range. He's like, you saw the mid-rangers if you watched the game, especially in the first half. There wasn't a whole lot of open guys on the 3-point range. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff at the rim. They were taking a ton of mid-ranges. I thought I was watching a 1990s game. Like, there was a lot of mid-range shots that were going down. Carson Cooper made 2 long twos. It was really random. But they were making the mid-ranges. Jeremy Fears had a couple of them. He went 6 for 8 on his field goal attempts inside the arc. He only took 1 3. It happened in the first half. He missed it. But he made several mid-range jumpers during this game. And, these were important shots as well. So, again, huge game for Jeremy Fears. A lot of props to him. Quiet game for Jackson Kohler. Surprisingly, I was just singing his praises for how consistent he was. He had scored at least 10 points in every game until this one. So, of course, after I pointed out, naturally he breaks the streak. Only 7 points, 7 rebounds for him. Again, below average for him. He's been sitting at about 14 and 10 most games. 0 for 5 from three-point range. I'd been hoping Kohler would kind of maintain that almost excessive three-point percentage. It is now dipped below 50%, which is sad, but he's still at 47.8% on the year. But again, not too concerned about Jackson Kohler. I don't think this is a great matchup for him as well, especially because he has to go up against Steinbach. At 6'11" forward, NBA, going to be a future NBA draft pick. Just wasn't his day, but I think that's the other encouraging part as well. Is like again, Kohler still kind of a low or a high floor kind of guy. You know you're going to get something out of him every single game. But you had the guys step up without their top scorer and their top rebounder. You had guys fill in the gaps. It wasn't necessarily one giant performance from someone. Again, Fierce had 19, but he only had 5 assists, which is below average for him. But Cooper filled in the gaps a little bit. He had 6 rebounds. He had 10 points. Curtain hit a couple of threes to make up for some of that. Again, he's really starting to find his range and starting to make those difficult threes. Really like where he's going as a shooter at the moment. But again, just like you see little increments here and there. Again, Cam Ward had 7 rebounds. Like that's not really his average. That kind of bumps that up in the rebounding category for Michigan State. Again, they were plus 11 in rebounding margin today, and that's difficult again because they have Washington had the top rebounder in the Big Ten. It didn't matter really in terms of who won on the glass. I will also have to say I liked what I saw from Denis Wojcik today. You don't need him to be Jeremy Fears. You just need him to just kind of man the ship for short spurts for 3, 4, 5 minutes at most and just kind of keep whatever lead or whatever the margin is right there. And he did that today. Like he's not going to go and score 15 points, but he had an impressive reverse layup. I think he drew I don't know if he drew a charge. It might have been a moving screen. Either way, that's basically a steal. He had one kind of dumb turnover, but whatever. He had 2 assists as well. I just think watching him, that was one of the better games that Wojcik played. Again, he's been highly scrutinized, and really I think for good reason, but I think some props have to be given to him. He played well today, if you ask me. Again, the perimeter defense is starting to play really well during conference play. Another thing I want to talk about briefly here, MSU actually is the best three-point defense during Big Ten play so far. That's another big thing here moving forward. And now as well, on KenPom right now, they're the number 1 defense in the entire country. If have that sink in for a little bit right there. Number 1 defense in the entire country. They're just ahead of Michigan now. Michigan, that's the other spicy part. They got past Michigan in that way. Michigan's still the number 1 overall team on the website, but again, that game's going to be settled on the court in about a little less than 2 weeks now, so that's going to be real exciting. But yeah, that kind of sums up what I've been thinking from this one. We'll see what happens moving forward. And again, Oregon at Tuesday, going to be a later one because it's on the West Coast on a weeknight, 9 p.m. tip-off for that one. I think it's on FS1. I think that's the TV channel it is on. So we'll see what happens there. Once again, though, thank you very much for listening. Whether you are on Spotify, Apple Music, any other streaming platform, thank you very much. Get all of our written content on MSU basketball, football, hockey, whatever is going on at the moment at SpartanNation.com or at Michigan State Spartans on SI. And yeah, once again, I'm Drew Klatsnika. I'll see you guys around.